Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana, and all the nooks and crannies receiving the signals from our 100,000 watt transmitter into those boxes, formerly known as radio, now known as Howard Reynolds boxes. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Before we get busy, let me pass it on to I forgot to say good morning to the world. We're receiving our signals via the internet. And of course, that internet is something created by whom? You. Formerly known as the ARPANET, funded by you, created by the intellect that you provided to those who you educated in the various public universities in our country, who now is being taken over by the billionaires. Folks, it's time for us to take our technology back. It's time for us to take our country back. Whoa, you see what I'm saying? Anyway, Howard Reynolds and Jacques Van Bibba. Good morning.
Well, we are going to take it back, all right.
Yes.
We better fork the internet over because we're going to take it back.
Yes.
I don't know what we're going to do with it, but we're going to take it back. Good morning, Egberto. It was a wonderful weekend. Had a great time with the folks on the Blues Cruise on Saturday. Lots of folks showed up. We want to thank Liz for coming out. Also, Suzanne and her friend. I can't think of her name's friend. But anyway, we had a great time. It was a wonderful bonding with our listeners. And our listeners are very, very avid listeners. I had talked to a guy named Jim who's I saw at the remote on Thursday. Then he was there in the boat Friday or Saturday. And we had a good conversation. So we thank you so much for coming out. I don't know if you're going to work now or not, but we certainly appreciate you coming out on the Blues Cruise and the support and the love that you show this radio station. So thank you very much. And Jack, what you got? Looks like you got a full page of wisdom over there.
Yeah, you know, them pesky wealthy people, you know what, we always have to talk about them and the trouble they cause.
Well, I don't know. I'm going to be a future wealthy person. 6 winning lotto numbers and KPOT is going to sound really different.
Dream on.
Yeah, I know.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, my brother. But you know what? I'm a dreamer, so I like to dream. Anyway, what's up, brother Jack?
All right, I'm going to talk about our wealthy elites here and how scared they are.
Listen up, wealthy elites.
As in
Jack is after you.
Egberto's report.
Jack is going to come get you.
How did our elite 1% end up with more wealth than the bottom 95% of the people? Excuse me a minute. They lied to you about trickle-down economics. Under Reagan's watch, the neocons and the Chicago boys flipped America to a neoliberal economic policy that concentrates capital at the top. So it's really called effervescence of economics, not trickle down. That was where they messed up. They just called it wrong. We could have seen through it if they would have called it right. So the industrial elites have become so wealthy that they pool their wealth and create think tanks like the Heritage Society and ALEC that seek to legislate to keep you working and them capturing the wealth you generate with your labor. When they use a lot of that capital to bribe Supreme Court justices and politicians to legislate in their favor. What are we going to do about this, America? We can't let this go on. We've got a Supreme Court that's corrupt. It's being paid off. It's being bought off. The politicians are all bought off. We have to roll back Citizens United and the other decisions that made bribery legal.
Well, that's a pretty interesting observation there and most likely very accurate. The Supreme Court is corrupt. We know this. We need to vote these politicians out. And we also need a funding where you can't get to them. We need some type of financial firewall that stops them from getting to the politicians. So campaign finance is a big one. Also, once you're in office, that's another big one too. So there needs to be a firewall between the lobbyists and the representatives, and there doesn't seem to be one. So I don't know what they'll do, how they'll structure it, but I say firewall those politicians into where they can't accept bribes, where they can't accept incentives. This is no, just no. Anyway, that's my 2 cents, Jack's 2 cents. And now for the big dollar man. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen.
Willies.
Hey,
Here
my
he is,
dear
ladies and
brothers, I was enjoying the show. I was sitting down here listening, and I'm like, I'm loving what I'm hearing. I was just enjoying the show. Like I imagine all the folks driving in their cars or listening on the internet and all that good stuff, because, hey, it's true, man. Look, and thank you for picking up on that, Brother Jack. Before I start, I want to tell folks one thing, and I want you can look this up, etc. When we have for some reason in America and actually around the world, we somehow praise, appreciate, revere people that have an extensive amount of wealth, right? We do that. Somehow we've been pre-programmed to believe if they have it, they probably deserve it. We never sit back and say things. Many of us that is say things like it is a system that's designed to create wealth for just a few and make the others pay. And it sounds like cliche. And when you hear a lefty or a progressive like myself or Jack or Howard say things like that, yes, there they go again. These people worked for it. But the truth of the matter is they didn't. Howard, I'm gonna mess with Howard a bit here. Howard doesn't make $1 million a year. Do you, Howard? You don't make $1 million a year, right?
Not yet.
Okay, not yet. Okay. Howard doesn't make $1 million a year. But we have a community radio station here. And for this radio station to work and get its signals over 100,000 watt transmitter, ensure that those people who stream our program on the internet from our kpft.org site gets that signal. For you to get that signal, right now I'm on YouTube. I'm doing all kinds of connections via Zoom, etc., to get the signal not only to the internet but to the airwaves on that 100,000 watt transmitter. We're doing a whole lot of stuff to get that to happen. All of that. One person right now gets all that kind of stuff done. We have Jack hasn't gotten his $1 million yet, I don't think. Jack Van Weber, the guy who is answering the phones and making sure that a lot of these things connect to work, to continue to work consistently. When Howard is out, Jack mans this stuff by himself, and nobody knows what's going on. But in the background, a lot of stuff's happening to make you hear something you want to hear. That occurs also with that baker. That guy who's at that store that gets up every morning at 4:00 and bakes the bread that you get up in the morning and eat. That donut shop owner who goes ahead and makes all the donut and, the things that make society work, These people are never going to see their $1 million, right? But you have a guy that decided to go to Wharton Business School, and he took, he got an undergrad degree, the same undergrad degree that a lot of people get, and then he spent another 2 years at Wharton Business School. And there's one thing he learned, and what he learned was something called capitalism. And look, I believe in free enterprise. I want to tell you, I strongly believe in free enterprise. You form your donut shop, your grocery store, all that kind of stuff. But these guys learned something else. They learned how to let capital work for them. That's how they put it. How to let capital work for them. And it's an oxymoron. I mean, it makes no sense, right? If you put a stock out there, or you put $1 out there and say, okay, dollar, work for me, nothing happens. That dollar still sits there. For that dollar to work, or what you call work, there has to be a body behind it. So here you have that rich person says, and let's not even talk about how they got rich in the first place, but that rich person says, I am going to let my dollar work for me. I'm going to let my capital work for me. What that means is that somebody else is going to do the work, whether that's be me, that be Howard, that be Jack, that be the candlestick maker, that they do the work, while somebody sits on their behind and wait to see how much of your excess work they can take from you. Look, I don't have a problem with profit. I love profit. You work and they get a little piece of the action because again, that is how money expands. That's how we get things. That's not a problem. But when you are predicated on making money solely from money, do you realize that the way our system works, the average worker goes out there and he does a day's work and he may make, let's say, $15 a month, and he may put, if he has a little excess savings in his passbook saving, and he'll make probably 1% if he's lucky, or 2% if he's extra lucky. But if somebody has capital and stocks, they people who can afford that kind of investment, their money grow at 7, 8, 9, 10%. If you look at the stock market this year, some people double their money, that sort of thing. What I'm trying to say is that there is one economy that all of us share. All of us share in one economy. If you have most people getting just a salary and either falling behind or at best making 1% on any little bit they're able to save, but you have a group of folks who have to do no work of substance, and at the same time, their appreciation of their money grows at 7%, 8%, 10%, 20% on that pie. Every year, they are taking a bigger piece of that pie. And every year, if they're taking a bigger piece, if a small amount of people are taking a bigger percentage of that pie every year, it keeps growing. That slice of that pie keeps growing because it's a closed economy. The world economy is a closed economy. Not to speak of, let's say, the U.S. economy. Don't let anybody fool you. That's what it is, right? So therefore, you continuously get poorer. Why? Because there are more of you vying for a smaller amount of the pie. We have been saying that this is a default state of capitalism forever. We have been saying that forever. Now, there are ways to modify this, right? If you want to keep that model, you have to redistribute. You have to tax the excesses out back into the system and build roads, put people through school, create something called basic incomes, give health care. You have to take that money back from what I call unearned income and put it back into the system. Otherwise, the system collapses, because anybody who knows integration and derivatives realize that as the wealthy derives all of their income from the rest of us, we continue to get less. And eventually, we see what we're seeing now. Families that used to be able to buy one home on one salary, then they used to be able to buy one home on two salaries. Then they had to double up with many of the kids living at home to help pay the mortgage. And when the kids leave, the people bring somebody else in, or families put in together for this. I mean, It is the masses continuously adjust to having less. That is where we are today. We are constantly adjusting our lives to live with those folks who continue to take their unfair share. That's what we do. We modify the cars that we drive. We modify how much we spend. We modify what cheeses we buy. We modify all these things because somebody is taking more of the share than they used to before. That is on your back. It is by definition how the economic system works. And again, I said, if you want to keep it, you have to drastically modify it to reclaim that money back to those who it was stolen from. I mean, if somebody was doing that in a grocery store, it would be called thievery. If somebody was doing it in a abarroteria, it would be called thievery. So we have to start, first of all, understanding that we are being robbed by a particular class who controls everything. One of the reasons the right, and to some extent the neoliberal left, doesn't believe in critical thinking and teaching critical thinking in high schools and so forth is because as you sit back and analyze that you do, as you sit back and realize, wait a minute, the people who are really making this economy work, this country function, are not the people who are making all the money. You know, we have Elon Musk, the richest person in the world. I think he still is. You know, you see let me tell you what upsets me the most. I worked for NASA for a while, and I was a senior engineer at NASA for a while. And I remember, and I used to scream about this all of the times, right? I was a peon, and all the other seniors that worked with me, we were peons. And I always remembered the executive class of the corporate, because what most of the people who work for NASA, they are really working for subcontractors of NASA. So I worked for Planning Research Corporation, Boeing, Lockheed, all these different folks, right? And you watch the exec of these companies do little. All of us are doing the work. In my case, working on the apps project, the TIFA module on the space station, and you're working all these hours, and you know the big bosses come in and they do nothing. They're the ones that get the bonuses and the salaries, etc., from the government money. You know, they get it, right? We have Elon Musk, who everybody worshipped as being rich. Of course, his electric company, car company, wouldn't be there unless the government subsidies that he indirectly gets through the companies that make oil cars that burn fuel as an offset for him. Otherwise, he would not be rich. Good morning, Mark O'Connor, Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, and Alice Harrison Dreams from, I think, I forgot where he's from, somewhere here in North Houston. So as it turns out, folks, Elon Musk this weekend, I think it was this weekend, Friday or late last week, he shoots something up in the sky to send the module up. And then the module comes back and it opens its leg and it lands on its feet. And the mainstream media are going, hooray, look at what he has done and great and this. These are things that we have been doing for decades. We just didn't do it for the space shuttle because, well, it was efficient to just throw the stuff up into the sky and let it drop into the ocean. It was cheaper than spending the amount of time that another company wanted to say, we can go ahead and develop the retro rockets and the technology, the GPS technology to bring it and land it on the ground. But Russia's been doing it for a long time as well. They weren't landing in the ocean. They were landing just like that in the middle of the Sahara, Siberia, just like that's been done for a long time. But we see it because now it's on video from Elon Musk, and we see that rocket that put the module into orbit comes and lands on its 4 feet. And we go berserk. Look at what Elon Musk has done. Something that has been done for decades. But if we don't know that, we believe that this person has accomplished something great when he has done it all with your dollars, government dollars, and the intellect and technology of all of those people that were skimmed off of other companies that have already done this sort of stuff. Feedback control and all of that we've been doing for decades. We did it with CPUs that are less powerful than what's inside of your cell phone right now. You see, bringing back that rocket and landing on its 4, the technology required for that is less than the technology in your cell phone. But most people just see that stuff land like that and, oh my God, it is great. And then they're willing to give Elon Musk billions because they think he accomplished something. My brothers and my sisters, one of the reasons we do this, one of the reasons we want people informed, is so that you're not taken in by these fallacies of, look at what he has done. You have already paid for many other engineers that have accomplished this many times over. You see, every day you fly on thousands of airplanes. The technology in those thousands of airplanes that land, many of them on their own, is no different than the technology to land that spaceship on the ground. In fact, it has some benefits in that it's naturally stable when the retros are on, unlike an airplane who has to constantly move forward to build lift. But anyway, I'll digress for a minute to get to the calls. But before, I just want to say this rant was brought on by Jack and the wealthy. Folks, we have to create policies that return what was taken because of an economic system that is biased against the average person, biased against those who actually do the work. Johnny, come on in.
I would think that P.T. Barnum of Barnum and Bailey Circus, I think he and Musk and a few others all travel in the same circles. They would be very comfortable with each other, sitting back, kicking back in their high apartments in the sky, congratulating themselves on what accomplishments they've done in ripping off their customers, the taxpayers and all. And you know who should be making money? The people who go through medical school, complete their assignments, pass their exams, become licensed medical doctors, and then practice that medicine to heal people, mend people who are broken or injured or sick, because they're doing the work, not these guys wearing 3-piece suits in Manhattan in a bank somewhere on Wall Street collecting money for doing nothing but skimming off the top, wetting their beaks, so to speak. That's just in medicine. Lots of industries are like that, as you know. And you said something that resonates with me and a whole bunch of other people just like me. You talk about how we are always adjusting. We are always scrimping and saving. We are always in this passive mode where the other guys are in the aggressive mode. They feel self-entitled. They feel that they're entitled to take the lion's share of the energy that people pump into the company that they own. That's why we have to have a reform in the way our economy works. We need to hybridize our economy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Whether it's 60-40% or 40-60, I don't care. We'll figure it out as time goes by, but we have to have an educated populace to have a hybrid economy, whereas a significant percentage of businesses are horizontally arranged. That is to say, co-ops. Not all businesses should be top down. And it makes it easy to steal from people when you dumb them down for decade after decade. That's why 70 million voted for Donald Trump when the obvious choice was Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. You know, Johnny, it is amazing that, that is amazing. And there are two things: dumbing down the population. That's why they don't want critical thinking. But the other thing, again, is realizing who actually do the work. If you've listened to me over and over again, you know how I revere teachers, I revere doctors. These are the people that make things happen. Those guys that are out there crunching numbers, etc. I mean, they serve a purpose. Don't get me wrong. I like the days when you had a community, you had a banker. The banker held on the money of the people in the community. The banker made a good salary for managing those people's money, making sure they had somewhere to store it, and they made a little interest on that money for keeping it in the bank. The bank loaned it out to expand the money supply so that other businesses can form. Those businesses paid a nominal interest rate for borrowing that money, and I mean that is a perfect free enterprise system. But when you get into stockbroker houses, I mean there are certain stock bonds, certain stock instruments, certain financial instruments, Johnny, that has nothing to do with the employee, the employer, the business, nothing to do with that. It's simply a manipulation of paper that is what they call a derivative of the industry or a derivative of a company. It has nothing to do with production. And these people are the ones who make the most money at just shifting things around with paper. And it is a shame that most Americans are not informed or are not savvy to how our economic system actually works. Now, one thing before you come in. Gordon Gekko always talk about greed is good, and the tenet of capitalism is rugged individualism, selfishness. In other words, greed is what makes us want to make things. In other words, they want you to believe that if we don't have greed, and if somebody doesn't have the incentive to be greedy, that somehow they won't have the incentive to produce anything. But at the same time, the engineers and the scientists and all these guys who actually produce things, design things, their intellect create new things, they're not the ones that are making millions and billions. So it goes on its face that says, well, if you don't allow on inordinate profits, you won't get innovation when the innovators aren't partaking of the actual profit itself. It makes, you have to be not thinking to not see that. Go ahead, Johnny. Oh, Johnny hung up. Let's go ahead and go to Jacob.
¿Qué paso?
Buenos dias, amigo.
Bueno. Hey, look, this is Yaakov, Yahuda, Israel, Ben Israel, your most popular caller.
I hear you, Jacob. I hear you.
Let him run that off. All right. But yeah, to the wealth of America. All right. America was founded, the wealth was not founded on the backs of my people. That's just a fact. That's the wealth of America. The king of America was cotton. Right? Cotton was the king. And those who picked the cotton was owned by this government, the government. You know what I'm saying? It was legal. Right? Until the amendments came in the Constitution. That's why we deserve us first, because it was built off the label of my ancestors. But they be like, well, it wasn't you. They all gone. No. The reason why we are behind the way we are is because of what they did to our ancestors. We had our own land and was doing our own thing, and they brought us over here for that particular reason. So we deserve to get ours before no. First of all, this country owed my people for the atrocities. Never forget 9/11. Never forget the Holocaust. Never forget this. For me, being a descendant of those who on this soil, I can't, I don't know. I know what happened in Puerto Rico, and I know there was Breaker Islands, Jamaica, and what happened in Panama, what happened in South America, and what happened. I understand that. But here, where everybody flocking to, was built off the blood, sweat, and tears. And if America could cough, it would cough my ancestors' blood. So, hey, and you very...
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you, Jacob, because I think you made that point several times. And let me just say that I am not going to disagree with you at all. All right? Let's put it this way. You hear all the rich people fighting right now about being able to leave their fortunes to their offspring. And if you also take a look at, they don't want a wealth tax. And they also don't, when they pass their monies down to the next generation, and notice what they are saying, they're passing their monies down to the next generation. Yeah, that means their accumulated wealth has been passed down to the next generation. Now, what you said is absolutely true, my brother. In other words, there is a group in this country that build their wealth off of slave labor. That's a statement of fact. And the other thing that is a statement of fact is reparations is in fact due. There's no doubt about that. I mean, anybody who wants to say, well, I didn't do that to you, my ancestors did, that is fine. That is your ancestor did. But your cumulative wealth is based on your ancestors' wealth. And I'm not talking for the average, I'm talking about for those who benefited from it. So, I mean, you're not going to get an argument out of me. Look, personally speaking, right, I am not looking for reparations. Not like you folks here in America would want to give this Panamanian reparations. You guys, you said it pretty much. We want it first. A split that shouldn't be there, but that's what you say. But let me just say this. I'm not looking for reparations for myself or anything like that. But I understand that the condition that we have a group of people in this country in is a direct result of the unfair distribution of wealth in this country and the stolen labor in this country. That's a statement of fact that requires correction. I am with you. And the thing about it is, if you really want that, you have to start voting appropriately and forming the right kinds of alliances to take what's yours. But unless you do that, talk is cheap. And that's what I tell all my progressives, Black, white, Chinese, everybody. If you really want an equitable society, everybody got to unite and fight for what is fair. And what is fair is mathematical. And we can come up with a mathematical number for what is fair based on the wealth of this country. The question is whether people are going to allow non-critical thinking to stop that or not. Jacob, I got to go on some more calls.
Wait, hold on.
Okay,
you don't deserve reparations in this country. What you mean? So it doesn't matter if you want it because you don't deserve it. No wait for.
Well, let me just say this, okay, Jacob, I am not asking. Wait, stop. I'm not asking for it. But if I want, I can give you the direct. Listen to me, please, my dear brother. I can give you the direct line that says every Caribbean person who built the Panama Canal also is deserving of reparations because of what was done on their back by the United States of America. That's why historical knowledge is important. You may talk about picking cotton in the wait. Hold one second. You may talk about picking cotton in North Carolina or wherever, but other people all around the Caribbean and Central America and South America can talk about what they did under the iron arm of the United States. Read your history, my brother. Okay, I got to jump back to Johnny, who was cut off accidentally. Then I'll go to Donald and Bard. Come on in, Johnny. And ladies, I'd like more women to call in and make your case. Please, please, please. Come on in, Johnny.
Okay, before I clarify what I said earlier in response to your follow-up to me, I sympathize most of the time with Brother Jacob, but I will offer some criticism to him, some constructive criticism. Jacob, if you're listening, when Brother Egberto is clarifying to you something, your first reaction is to, I gotta go, and you hang up. You act like those oligarchs in Downton Abbey who they don't want to hear about their Russian oppression. That's what you come across as. And you're a black guy and I'm a white guy listening to this stuff. Be more respectful and listen. Think about what Brother Egberto is telling you. Don't just hang up on him. That's disrespectful. Okay, so here's the thing. I shouldn't have to be wasting time with you clarifying for the listener because the listeners, by and large, should already be up to speed on this stuff, but apparently not based on what I hear, how they interact with you. Nuanced thinking is lacking. When I'm talking about bankers, I'm not broad brush painting all bankers, just like you don't broad brush all lawyers for that matter. I'm talking about people, hedge fund people like Mitt Romney or Clintons who went down to Haiti and they exploited those people under pretense of having a foundation that was supposed to be empowering people into an entrepreneurship. It was all a hoax, a setup. That's what bothers me. These people who go into banking with ulterior motives, those are the people we need to identify on a regular basis and remove them from the profession. Just like you remove rogue cops, white nationalists from our military or law enforcement. They don't belong there. You identify, you remove them, you find them something else to do, or if they've committed criminal acts, you prosecute and punish them. And when they're done getting their punishment and they learn how to behave, then we help find them another job to do in society. It's sheer human nature, regardless of whether it's medicine, law enforcement, whatever. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Let's go to Brother Donald. Before we go to Donald, just want to say my buddy has died. Chris Christopherson has died. Man, I didn't know he was 88 years old. Love that guy. Anyway, come on in, Donald.
Oh, no, you can't talk about death and bring me on like that. Good singer, good songwriter. Okay, George Bailey, which way are you wanting to go? You just don't like the Mr. Potters of the world. You know, that's the problem. It's a Wonderful Life. We write all these books. When are you going to write the book of Egberto? That way you can shed the light on these people and the way it works. And, you know, there's not enough George Baileys in the world. That is the problem because there's too many Potters and we idolize them.
I like that. By the way, since you opened the door, I do have that in a book that I already written called How to Make America Utopia. Take away the economy from those who rigged it. Okay, so I did write that part already. Maybe I need to write it more specific to rich people, but I did write that one already, my dear brother. Anything else, Brother Donald?
Well, next you're going to be telling us, I don't want to bring my kids around here listen to you because you're going to tell them there's no Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny ain't real, fairy is the weirdest thing in the world. There's a crazy man that comes in your house at night, steals your kids' teeth, and leaves money. What else are you doing in that bedroom? That's all I got to say about that. Have a good one.
Thank you, brother. You have a great one, Donald. You always give me a laugh all of the times. Folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. Can I hear from you? Ladies, 713-526-5738. We need to get more ladies involved because your thinking process makes ours better. Anyway, let's go to Brother Bard. Come on in, Bard. How you doing, brother?
Yes, sir, Jacob. I want to offer you an apology that your own people sold your own people into slavery. Now, you just need to get over it because you had never picked a row of cotton, and I have never owned a slave, and you're getting nothing. If you want some reparations, you may move to California. You may get it out there, but you're getting nothing here, buddy. I told you a couple weeks ago, you've been replaced by 20 million illegal aliens from Venezuela, and they're getting all the welfare. So good luck to you, brother. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bard. He left.
He's already
God.
gone.
He's already gone. You know, I mean, that is something he wanted to get on air. He wanted to get on air that Jacob never picked cotton, and he wanted to get on air that he never owned slaves and use that simplistic argument. I get it, Bard. You left that in the ethos and you didn't give a chance to talk about it, right? Well, I tell you, let me tell you where I would agree with you, Bard. I'll tell you how I would agree with you. If after somebody dies, everything that they own goes to the state and not to their offsprings, I would agree with you. In other words, if when Elon Musk dropped dead, everything that's in his name as an asset or whatever goes back to the state, okay, we cool. Let's understand this. Because wealth get transferred, you'd never have to have had slave. Did any of your relatives do, or your descendants did, or whatever? And is some of their wealth based on that former amount of money? Then that's a different story. But the easy way to get rid of that is, you're right. If we get rid of inheritance altogether, hey, I could live with that. If you get rid of inheritance, in other words, everything you make is for you today. And then anything that's left back goes back to the state where the state redistributes it. I'm for that. Then you can honestly say that you don't have anything to do with slavery. You don't owe reparations or anything like that. But if any of that money that was made on the backs of Jacob's ancestors, okay, I'm not going to use mine because Jacob's want to keep me out of the picture. After all, I was born in Panama. Doesn't matter that I didn't come over to the Americas on a pleasure ship. Jacob doesn't like me. He doesn't want me included. But anyhow, I play. But I mean, so anyway, Bart, the reality of the word is you have it all wrong. And not only that, you're not allowing yourself to think. And to convince yourself that there are 20,000 Venezuelans coming over here for welfare that's taking away stuff from other people, you know, it can work in the short term. That statement can work in the short term, and it can even scare some people into voting against their own interests, you know. But saying things like that or choosing to believe misinformation and lies doesn't help you, doesn't help your financial well-being. It doesn't help the fear that you have that you're losing something you never had. Because that's what's going on. I wrote a paper. I wrote a paper on my Substack yesterday that I distributed that got some good. And let me tell you what the title of the paper was. The title of the paper that I wrote last I think I wrote it on Sunday, actually, yesterday. It was called, bear with me as I look it up, because I'm going to suggest that people read that paper, because it actually makes a whole lot of sense, if I must say so myself. I'm looking up the title, but I can't remember right now. It's called the Path. This is a path to change the mind of the brainwashed MAGA person. It's on my Substack at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That article says it all. One should consider checking out that article. Let's go to Brian. Folks, the number is 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Come on in, Brian.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, my brother.
Okay. I really don't understand you at all.
Okay.
I have no concept of why you're here.
Okay.
You come from a country that doesn't allow abortion, but you want abortion here in this country.
Mm-hmm.
You wrote a book about how bad our economic system is, when basically it would be the same in your own country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand your following, your thinking, your Substack, if you wish to call it that. You know, if you don't agree with this country, leave. I don't understand you.
Okay, if I don't agree with this country, leave. Okay, let's say I was born here. Would you tell me the same thing? If I don't agree with the country, leave?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
and okay, you'd say the same thing. And what about? Okay, so let me ask you this: you don't agree with the things Biden is doing, right?
No, I don't. I don't believe in socialism.
Okay, so let me stop you there. So why don't you leave?
Because I'm fighting to keep the country that I fought for.
Okay, and I'm fighting for the country that I was a part of building as well. I also built. Wait a minute. I also built America. You know that, right?
Yeah. See, I don't understand your thinking as to why you're such a racist.
I'm a racist. Okay, how am I a racist again?
Okay, it's very simple. I'll prove it to you, whether you know it or not, whether you understand it or not.
Okay.
All right, now, you said you immigrated in this country in the 80s, and you wanted to take out a $40,000 loan.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you were denied.
Yes.
And it was...
No, I wasn't denied. I wasn't even allowed to apply because I didn't have assets.
You didn't have assets, but yet you blamed it on your skin color, correct?
Yes.
All right, thank you. You're a racist.
Okay, let me ask you this now. So if the reason I didn't get the loan is provably my skin color, and I made mention of that makes me a racist, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so in other words, even if what was done, look, even if what was
credentials,
Say that again.
You were denied due to credentials, not color of your skin.
Okay, let me tell you this.
That you were denied to a loan because of the color of your skin.
Exactly.
And that is wrong.
Okay. Why is that wrong if that's what occurred? If that is what occurred, why are you saying that? I mean, I'm saying I had look. I didn't say that. I didn't pull that out of the air. Okay. Again, you choose to remember the part of the story that you want to remember. Two of us went in for a $40,000 loan. Okay. I had a software company. I had a resume that proved that I knew what I was doing. The other person, my white friend, okay. Also, by the way, and he was visibly a coke addict as well, but he was my friend. He went for a card to get the same $40,000 loan for doing a card company. He had zero assets. I had just a few, but not a $40,000 worth in asset. If I had that, I wouldn't have need the loan. Okay. He got the loan. He got the small business loan. I didn't. And I tell you, there are many of us can tell you this story over and over again because you choose to believe that isn't occurring. I can't help you. I can't help you that you can't see reality. If you can't see that, brother, what I would suggest, I would give you a copy of my tribulations of my book. If you choose, I'll give it to you so you can see the factual basis in the conclusions that I've come to. Okay, I mean,
K1 visa?
Say that again.
So, were you here on a K1 visa?
I was here on a.
Give you a loan?
No, I was no. I was already a U.S. I was here. I was a U.S. citizen, sir. I was a U.S. citizen when I was denied.
Blame the color of your skin due to lack of credentials on a loan.
I mean, you keep. Okay. Why are you constantly talking about, sir? Stop. Why are you Brian? Stop. Brian, let me ask you. I am asking you. I already told you that my credentials were just fine. In fact, my credentials superseded my white brother's credential. In fact, he didn't have a college education. Not that I'm saying college education, but I'm saying in what American society leverage. I had a college education. I worked at NASA. I did all the things to prove I was a good risk. He had nothing to show that he was a good risk other than being able to walk in there and actually being able to meet the person, fill out the application. I didn't even get to fill out the application. And you have the nerve now to say credentials when my credentials superseded his. Brian, I got to go to other calls. This isn't going anywhere. Brian, if you want to know the real history, go to my Substack and read the part of my book that talks about it. Have a great day, my brother. Let's go to Raymond. Come on in, Raymond.
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, I caught just the end of the show here, and I've been listening for, I don't know, maybe less than a year. I want to speak directly to Brian, who just got off the call with you. And this is to you and to Brian and your other listeners. Brian, you're one of the main reasons that I listen to and enjoy this show. I like the dynamics, the perspectives, the conversation about the political issues, and seeing both sides go back and forth. I appreciate that. But it's gotten lately to the point where the respect that it started with has gone by the wayside. And I'd like to call for Brian specifically to try to remember this is about politics, this is about government policies, and it's not about personal attacks. And Egberto, you've been very good about that the majority of the time. And I see that sometimes people get you a little bit out of your comfort zone there and you try to pull it back together. But if everybody could try to keep it on point, I think the show would be more enjoyable.
I appreciate that, Raymond. And let me tell you, I first of all, I will try to continue to do my part. And you are correct. Every now and then, we're only human. Every now and then, somebody will hit that nerve, and the civil. And in fact, one of the reasons I just told Brian bye-bye is because, again, I was starting to get that thing where, when it comes to my stuff in this in the country, right? There's when somebody tries to gaslight, it becomes an issue, and I can deal with it. But every now and then, You don't get enough sleep, and you know what happens, Raymond.
Of course. Well, I hope that you continue to welcome it, as I'm sure you will, callers with every perspective. And I hope that they'll all keep a professionalism in mind and a respect to the host, because you're the host here. It's your show. You get to decide what you air, and you're so gracious to let everyone express their own opinions. The higher the level of respect one for another, I think the more beneficial it's going to be for everyone.
Man, I so agree with you, Raymond. Raymond, I so agree with you. I mean, in fact, I write a whole lot about that. I write about we have to engage each other because that's how you gain respect for each other. So, I mean, thank you for reinforcing that. And thank you for saying, you saying that, right, makes me want to make sure to keep it that way. So thank you.
Appreciate it. You have a great one.
You too, Raymond. Let's go to Lynette. Come on in, Lynette. My sister Lynette, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, and I know time is short, so I'm going to try to make this quick. Thank you, Egberto, we need to talk more about the economy and how the U.S. But let me talk to my brother Jacob. Jacob, yes, the wealth was made off of the back of our ancestors, our slaves. You understand how. So we need to understand the stories of Panama and those people that come into our country benefit because the U.S. allows that. But it also, Jacob, don't fall for the distractions when you have brothers calling in like Bart and others, okay, because they're saying their piece. But you have to understand how it all works, okay? So you understand how the U.S. works. So we have to understand how to move forward within the system that we live in, and it can be done. So be patient, my brother. I know you're patient. I'm patient. Let me not even say be patient, because we've been patient for too long, because I'm old enough to be a mother, I'm sure. But listen, don't be distracted. You understand how the U.S. operates. So now we have to understand how to work within that system so that we can move forward. And it can be done. And I wish I can talk to you individually. So anyway, have a great day. And thank you, Egberto, and to all of the team that's there that's making this possible.
Thank you so kindly, Lynn. Your words of wisdom are enjoyed. Thank you. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Let's go to Brother Augie.
Good morning. I was wondering if Bart ever picked any cotton. I have. With my grandfathers were farmers. I picked cotton and I worked out in the field. And as far as Venezuelans, I know a bunch of them, and they're all working. Some of them are medical doctors. I helped two of them get married. When I go to my primary care doctor, a lot of the nurses and staff there are Venezuelans. If he goes to a hospital, there's a chance that his doctors in the hospital will be foreigners, and so will the nurses and staff. They come from all countries all over the world. So if he goes to the emergency room, it's probably some people, the workers there are immigrants. And what was it? I guess it was Brian. Yeah, he didn't like Venezuelans, but they're here and they're working just like
Augie.
All immigrants are working.
Thank you, brother. Let me just tell you, we immigrants come over here and they work their butts off, and their labor is in fact needed. Thank you, Augie. Let me close out here. Look like Johnny has one other quick thing to say. Come on in, Johnny, real quick.
Defense of you, Egberto. I think both Brian, as well as Breitbart, and a black brother, whose name is
Jacob.
Right now.
Jacob.
Three of them have a major chip on their shoulder, and their smugness that they have, the smugness that especially the Breitbart and Brian have, is overshadowed by their deep-seated visceral hate that they have. Hate towards people on the left. They think that America is a certain way. They forget about the heritage that they were taught about this country, the Statue of Liberty, the words on the pedestal. They forget all that conveniently when they want to express they want to vent their spleen on you. And I think they're being childish, and they need to grow up, and they need to get their facts. It's not 20 million Venezuelans, by the way, Breitbart.
It's amazing, isn't it? Anyway.
For now.
Got to go, brother.
He talked about he hates socialism. He was in the military. Military is based on socialism, Brian.
Amen. Again, it's amazing like I said, that's why the right likes to keep people not informed. Thank you so kindly. Let me jump to the studio. My brother's in the studio.
Oh, pretty much nothing for me, but Jack's got something. What you got?
I don't know how this got written down, but I want to support women in taking care of and regaining your reproductive rights in this next legislative years ahead.
Absolutely.
Well,
Go ahead.
We should. We should. Because this is a basic right that they're trying to take away from us. And they're not going to stop there because they never do. Once your right starts disappearing, and it's like death from 1,000 cuts. Oh, we'll take this little right here away. Nobody said anything. Okay, let's take another right away until you get to the big stuff. And then your rights are all gone by then. So they're not going to stop at one particular right. They're just going to keep going. So stop them while you can.
Absolutely. So thank you very much, my brothers in the studio. Look, folks, thank you all for calling in. Love you all, callers and listeners, including you, Brian and Brad, too. You know, I'm hoping someday we'll be able to sit on the same platform. Anyway, folks, don't forget the videos and everything for the show is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. There's a lot that we had there we didn't get to. Of course, that's because you have precedence. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out. Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.